Hello everyone, my name is Kara Dunderdale and today we are going to be talking about the best practices for supporting a seamless transfer for community college students transferring to a 4-year bachelor's degree program. This is an important topic to discuss as community colleges play an integral role in the higher education system. They are often a starting point for many students in their collegiate journey, as they are accessible, affordable, and usually convenient for students as they are local to their hometown. They often are a way for low income, non marginalized, and non traditional students to really start that process. However, as noted below by Shaw and All, historically, students who start their educational journey at a community college face many obstacles trying to complete their bachelor's degree, especially in comparison to traditional students who enter a 4-year program right out of high school. This slide contains information from research studies conducted by the Community College Research Center at Columbia University's Teacher College. Here we can see that 81% of community college students initially indicated a plan to transfer on to a bachelor's degree program or a 4-year institution. However, what is found is that 33% of those students actually ended up transferring to a bachelor's program. And of those 33 students that did take the step and begin their transfer journey, less than half of them actually earned a bachelor's degree. So this shows how this is a major issue and area that needs improvement within the world of higher education. This topic is especially relevant for higher education professionals in New York State due to some of the recent changes that have been made. In May of 2025, Governor Kathy Hochul announced the SUNY Reconnect program, which provides free college education for adult learners pursuing in-demand programs. As seen on the map below, 30 of the 64 SUNY campuses are actually community colleges, showing how large the sector actually is. With that being said, in the next couple of years, now that the Reconnect program is underway, there will be a larger population of students that are interested in pursuing a bachelor's degree program. Another reason this is relevant is because Chancellor John B. King Jr. has implemented a SUNY transfer task force and has consistently indicated that reviewing and refining transfer practices is a SUNY priority for the upcoming academic years. Therefore, this is a critical and relevant topic for higher education professionals. The transfer process, specifically for community college students, has remained flawed for many years, and it is our duty to now address this and provide more seamless and equitable transfer pathways. This is an ongoing discussion, and what we are going to discuss in this presentation are some suggestions based on recent research. However, it is important to note that this process is ongoing, and we can always modify best practices based on current need. A core takeaway is that it is critical to understand the difference of needs between an incoming transfer student and a traditional freshman student. These students are very different with different needs and different processes, so it is the responsibility of the institution to be prepared for this. Likewise, specifically for community college institutions, it is the responsibilities of professionals on both sides of the sector, whether you're someone currently employed at a community college or someone who is employed at a university 4-year center. Both aspects are critical in helping students in the transfer process. At the community college, students must feel supported and must feel successful in higher education before they even begin contemplating pursuing a bachelor's program. On the other side, 4-year institutions, specifically in admissions, must ensure that students feel welcome, supported, and we want them to be part of our campus community. Different research studies highlight major barriers that students face in the transfer process. I have outlined these into 3 different categories, and on the following slides will provide suggestions and ways to address this in our institutions. The first takeaway is the importance of having a strong advisement model and transfer student support services in place. It is undeniable that human support and collaboration is critical in education, especially in the admissions process. As highlighted below by Jabbar and All, research found that students felt the personal connection really made the difference for them in their admissions process. Even if information could easily be found on a Google search or on a campus website, students felt having that connection and communication with someone was so important in their transfer journey. On the other hand, research also found that students who reported a lack of a timely response from an institution or just a negative interaction with admissions offices directly led to them not even applying or considering that institution, as they felt it was an indicator of how they will be welcomed and supported as a student at the college. Noting the importance of human connection during this process, there are two suggestions that we have. First is it is essential for an institution to ensure that there are effective support services in place. Whether this is an admissions advisor or a professional answering the phones or including student workers, implementing a one-stop office where there are representatives from Student Financial Services, registrar's office, advisement, admissions, or anyone that is well versed to answer questions, whether it is about the admissions and application process, financial aid, scholarships, department-based questions, transfer credit. Any of those questions should be able to be answered by students on the spot when they are inquiring about the program. Additionally, institutions may consider offering more transfer-specific events. While it is common for an institution to have an open house, for example, that is usually for all students, whether you are an incoming freshman or a transfer student. But offering more specific transfer Q&As or transfer open houses, tutorials on how to go through the application process, those are critical because it helps make transfer students feel supported, valued, and seen at an institution. There are both benefits and challenges to this implementation. First, it greatly helps strengthen a college's reputation by having students that feel supported and engaged when they are going through the inquiry process, having someone always there helping answer their inquiry calls or emails. However, as higher education professionals, we all know that staffing is a very big challenge, and sometimes there's just not enough time or hours in the day and people in the office to get everything done. However, transfer admission can be an area to grow enrollment, especially in a period where the traditional student population enrollment is declining due to, population decline, but also people starting to question in this new generation, is college education worth it? Another challenge that goes along with this is, transfer students want specific advisement about their transfer credit, the cost, the program, and a student's experience with an advisor can positively or negatively impact their experience. So you need to make sure that your, professionals who are in this position are prepared to answer questions and help students efficiently. The next takeaway is that articulation agreements are very important, as developing clear and meaningful partnerships across institutions is essential. They basically help provide transparency to students and help give them that starting point by saying, our college is partnered with this one for my program. However, in recent years, many of us who are familiar with articulation agreements, as well as supported in the research below, can report that sometimes these articulation agreements are difficult to understand, difficult to use, and sometimes they're even outdated. So this is a big area that is important, but definitely needs some modifications. Therefore, the two suggestions along with this takeaway are to revise and strengthen current articulation agreements to help promote a seamless transfer, as well as modifying websites and materials regarding articulation agreements to make it user-friendly for all participants. This might entail, just creating a simple brochure that can be given to students in the program at the community college or for admissions professionals out on the road. Just clear bullet points indicating exactly what the partnership entails, what students need to know, and what they need to do as part of this articulation agreement. Something that goes along with articulation agreement is transfer credit. While many articulation agreements state or allude to credit evaluations, they are not often clearly presented to students. Making sure that transfer students are aware of how many credits are transferring and what courses they will still need to earn their bachelor's degree program is essential. Many transfer students see credit loss as a big barrier to their success, as well as contribution to the transfer stigma. Students feel that if their courses aren't going to transfer over, it is a waste of their time and money as that they spent completing the previous class. Many colleges actually make students wait until they are officially enrolled in the program to obtain an official degree audit. However, this is very concerning for students and very unwelcoming, as they want to know exactly what is expected of them, just like any student entering a program. The recommendation for this is colleges providing preliminary transfer evaluations for students upon inquiry, application, before enrollment, so they can make an informed decision on whether they want to attend the college, and they can determine cost, timeline, and all of those things that go along with college education. Below is an example of SUNY Alfred's Aleutian Self-Service Transfer Evaluation website. Here, I pretended that I was a SUNY Columbia Green student taking English 101, History 104, and Math 102. This is a self-service report where students can check off all of the courses they completed at a community college and see exactly how they will transfer over towards a program at their respective institution. Not many campuses have this, but SUNY Alfred has a great example of best practices for transfer student by allowing them to see exactly what will transfer over. Again, there are both benefits and challenges along with this implementation. While articulation agreements can provide clear information and guidelines for students in the transfer process, they do require collaboration from two different leadership teams at two separate institutions, which can sometimes be challenging as higher education leaders have many different responsibilities. It is an opportunity to make meaningful connections with another institution. However, since articulation agreements require consistent revision and modifications due to curriculum and program changes, they are often difficult to maintain. Likewise, articulation websites such as Assist are often difficult for students and faculty to use, so trying other methods such as a brochure to make this more user-friendly is critical. Finally, websites like Aleutian, as cited previously at the SUNY Alfred website, they are expensive. However, most colleges actually already have this software. So if your institution currently uses DegreeWorks for degree auditing, then you already have this system. So therefore, it's just a matter of training staff on how to use this application in a new way to further support students. The final takeaway is to ensure belonging and representation of transfer student voices. Transfer students are often underrepresented at institutions. We often look at the college experience, freshman enrollment, but these present barriers for transfer students. 3 articles are cited below showing how research supports that students feel there is a transfer barrier and a feeling of belongingness and them questioning whether they belong at an institution, negatively impacting their decision to continue their college education, especially for non-traditional students who have other life and professional responsibilities along with enrollment. Strategies and suggestions for how to address this are creating or modifying admissions web pages and making sure there are sections with verbiage specifically referencing community college transfer students. Likewise, it is critical for marketing teams to highlight community college transfer student voices on their website, social media, newspaper, marketing materials, and other resources to make sure that students know that there are other transfer students at this institution and that we have their voices represented. The benefit is creating a campus culture that is welcoming, where students feel a sense of belonging and support. While this is critical, it is often costly to implement these type of activities or to have the staffing to make this done adequately. Likewise, it may be difficult to find transfer students that are willing to share their stories publicly about their transfer journey and transfer struggles. A final challenge is that non-traditional students who are enrolled at community college, especially those in the SUNY Reconnect program, might have other life and familial responsibilities preventing them from transferring to a fully in-person program. If your institution does not offer online, hybrid, or other diverse and flexible learning opportunities, it may be difficult for these students to transfer into your program. As mentioned at the start of the presentation, this is an ongoing discussion, and revising practices is always the way to make improvements. Therefore, I want to take a moment to ask all of you what you are doing to support seamless transfer of community college students at your institution. Below, you could find a link to Padlet, which is a website fostering online discussion. You can see the question I posed below. What is something your institution is doing to support a seamless transfer for community college students? You can then write anonymous responses to be posted on this digital discussion forum. There are 2 different button links below for people who are employed at the community college versus the university or 4-year sector. If you are not watching this webinar live, that is okay, as Padlet never goes away. So if you want to go back to this link at a later date, you can always add on to it, or you can go back and see what other people wrote. If you have ideas from others, again, as long as you have this link, you will always be able to go back and look at what your peers wrote. Here are screenshots from the 2 different posts showing what community college sectors and 4-year sectors are currently doing to support seamless transfer for students. Please continue to add to this, and again, you are always able to go back to this resource. Please see the references and resources used in the development of this webinar below. You can use these to conduct further research or to explore the research studies that were cited further. Thank you for your time today and for your commitment in bettering your institution's practices for transfer students.